All right, everybody. If you are hearing this, you have once again tuned to the Consequence of Habit podcast. This is your host, JT. Hey, guys, please check out our website, consequenceofhabit.org, so you can see all the awesome events that we got coming up. We got some big ones. It's not finalized, but we got some big stuff happening this spring, to include bringing in a retired Navy SEAL Commander John McCaskill, former Marine Dr. Teresa Larson, to do a mindfulness and meditation and movement workshop. That's going to be for active duty military, first responders. We're still trying to figure out. I'd love to open to everybody, but we shall see. We've got some tree planting events coming up also this spring. We've got a lot of environmental things in the works. Big stuff happening here at CoH. Speaking of big things, this week's guest, Mr. Brandon Sethre. Brandon is a fellow ambassador with Athletic Brewing, but he wasn't even on my radar. And I was scrolling through and I see this guy. Well, I think I saw his feet, which sounds strange. He'd posted some pictures of his feet and they are jacked up. And that's because he's doing some amazing, amazing things. This guy went from a severe pill addiction to turn his life around and really connecting this is going to sound crazy, but it's the truth. What made him an addict, if that energy is flipped to the positive, he's pointing out all the amazing things that these people are capable of. Now, it's not easy, right? Like if you're going to do something every single day and you're going to put that dedication into it, well, that could be popping pills, or it could be becoming an entrepreneur or an athlete or whatever it is you decide it's going to be. So I love the conversation. I think there's going to be more to come. I know that we are going to continue to communicate and try and build a program to get buy-in from young people to realize that the same thing that made them what they are, that has built this world of shame, is the same thing that makes them capable of unbelievable things. So I'm excited to see where that goes. So without further ado, please welcome to the podcast, Brandon Sethre. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Consequence of Habit podcast. Today, we are honored to have on Brandon Sethre. Brandon, I appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for having me, JT. It's an honor. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Even the short little conversation we had before we hit record, I can tell that I can already tell that this is going to go in a cool direction. So, yeah. Well, first off, let's start in the beginning. Brandon, where are you from? And what started your journey into kind of exploring habits, consequences, pain, pleasure, all of this stuff?
So I grew up in a small town in Minnesota, born and raised. Basically, I spent some time away, but my wife and I eventually just came back to the small town. And so when I say small town, there's less than 450 people in the town. So I graduated high school with a class of 26 people, and it's kindergarten through 12th grade all in one school.
Wow.
So my dad passed away at a young age. I was 5. And so I don't think I really ever dealt with that until I got into about 7th or 8th grade. There was a basketball and football coach who I was close to suddenly passed away. And I think that looking back, I think that triggered a lot of stuff for me.
Yeah.
And so probably, 8th through 10th grade, I really struggled with mental health. And I spent some time in a couple treatment facilities for that.
Yep.
And then, so I struggled all through high school with that. A lot of suicidal thoughts. So that was tough for me. And then, so I struggled through high school, and then 3-sport athlete. I got out of high school and I was playing in a pickup basketball game, and I had a pretty significant ankle injury
Mm-hmm.
that required some surgery and some pins and stuff. And so that's kind of when I got the first taste of pain meds. So things were already going bad for me. And then once I kind of got a hold of the bottle of pills, things kind of went away. And then, the next 7 years, things escalated from there.
So you're in high school when this starts then?
I was 19 when I probably started using, not on a regular basis, but, I started like, one pill here or there. And, then we'd go out and drink with buddies because, we partied a lot with 450 people in our town. Sure. We just hit the gravel roads on the weekends and, whatever. But so then, I didn't really have much direction. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So around here, it's like a lot of blue collar, kind of pick a trade, go to tech. A lot of guys go to tech school, electrician, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I did construction. Well, I still do construction. So I just kind of went into that field. First I did, actually built grain elevators. So I did that for about 5 years. And then switched over. I do masonry work now. So did that. And then I ended up having another ankle injury, same leg, tore my Achilles. So it just like one thing after another. So I just kept it just never ended.
Now,
so then,
Brandon, where are you as far as your mental health journey? You mentioned high school, you were really suffering. When at this point, when you're starting to understand how good these pills make you feel,
yep.
Where are you in that journey? Are you at a low? Have you started figuring things out?
When I was like 19, I suppose I was low, but I wasn't rock bottom low yet.
Yeah.
Like that was just the beginning for me. And, I think I went to treatment. I ended up escalating. It was kind of an off and on deal. Like if I'd have pills, okay. But then if I didn't, I'd drink, kind of deal.
Yeah,
it was kind of a back and forth thing. And then, 24, 25, still working in the construction field. I had the Achilles injury and then I ended up hurting my back pretty bad at work. So then I just kind of got hooked up with, he thought he was doing me a favor, but a bad doctor. And it was like, I could get a script whenever I wanted kind of deal.
Yeah.
So basically my doctor, I guess you could say, was my drug addict.
Sure.
I could call whenever I wanted and get whenever I wanted. And then, it used to be like I could take a couple pills in the morning, I'd be good and chipper till noon, but then it would be turned into a handful of pills. Like I would just become immune to it. And then at that point, after that, a year of that, it was like, I wasn't even getting high anymore. I was just like trying to function throughout the day. I would take a handful of pills in the morning before work and drink a cup of coffee and go to work and just be numb for the rest of the day, basically.
Now, are you single at this point? I know you.
Yep. So I met my wife 2012, and I met her. I still had my boot on from tearing my Achilles, so I was just getting over my Achilles injury,
mm-hmm.
and things were. I mean, wasn't rock bottom. Like I was still functionable, And so we got married in 2015, so it was like 3 years. I hid. Like she had no idea.
She had no clue.
No clue at all. I mean, which is now looking back, if you were to talk to her, she knows, like it makes sense to her now. You know?
Yeah.
But I mean, we moved in together before we were married, and like we ended up getting on the same insurance. But it's like it's $4 for me to fill a prescription, so it's not like I'm noticeably taking large sums of money out of our bank account. So I mean, it was easy to. It was easy to hide anything from anyone.
Hey, did that make her question things? Like once everything kind of came out, I mean, that had to be for her. Like, wait a minute, do I know this guy? Like, this is something so massive, and it was really happening under, in our house, and I had no idea.
Yeah. So the day, my grandpa, which I don't know if we'll get into that, but he passed away in March. He was my best friend, or 2 Marches ago now. He was actually, 4-time cancer survivor. He donated my dad a kidney.
Wow.
Before he passed away. Well, he was on morphine just because of all the things he was on. So, I mean, I got to the point where I was stealing from him.
Yep.
So then my uncle knew that was going on, which was my dad's brother that had passed away. And he actually ended up, he blocked me in the driveway one day because he knew what was going on. And he said, I remember he told me, I told your dad I was going to take care of you and I'm not doing a very good job. So he put me in the car, and my wife was, she was babysitting a family friends' kids at the time.
Yeah.
Drove me right to her. And I remember walking down that sidewalk and telling her, I said, there's something we need to talk about. And that's when I told her, and she, you could see the shock in her face. She had no idea.
Shit, man. That must've been, that's a tough walk, man.
It was that sidewalk was a long walk. Yeah. So yeah, that's how. And then he drove me up to Fargo. We were living close at the time, so we drove up to Fargo and then basically did an assessment at the treatment facility just to kind of see where I was at,
Yeah.
And so I think I went in that following Thursday or something, like a few days later, into a 30-day in-treatment program. So and we had a young Quinn, our oldest, she was less than a year old at the time. So we had a young one, and I always remember, like, I wanted to get clean.
Yeah.
For my family, I could not do it. I did not have the mental capacity. I had been doing it for, almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And I just could not, I couldn't take it. It was terrible.
Yeah. That's, and I think, and I'm sure you've heard it before and you know it, but I think it's important for other people to hear the fact that you cannot get clean for somebody else. Like, and that's not a comparison, right? Like all the love in the world. You think that's like, hey, you would do this for me because, but that in I wish it worked like that, but unfortunately, it's just not the way that things happen. So, yeah. Well, I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. So this is kind of the crazy part. I didn't realize the extent of how bad things were for me. But I was in treatment, and we got all our insurance stuff back because it was almost the new year, Yeah. So my wife got a list of all my prescriptions in the last year, and there was a span of 4 or 5 months, I think, and I had done over 3,000 oxys.
Holy crap!
Yep. Same doctor, same pharmacy. Yep. Crazy.
See, that is absolutely. Well, I shouldn't even say that's insane because I've talked to other people, and when I found out, when they told me the amount that they were taking, it's unfathomable, right? I mean, you look back now, and you like people die from that. Like that's crazy amounts.
Yeah, and that was just what I was prescribed. I mean, I was stealing from my grandpa. I even stole from my wife after she had Quinn. Or first, she had some troubles and she had pain meds, and I took all those. I was out of control. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's so much I'm sure for you to unpack at that point because you know what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I've talked about it on here before, like you can package this thing and you can show it to the world and everyone can see it. But at the end of the day, you're the one that's up at 2 a.m, knowing what's going on, and you can suppress that and you can pretend it's not happening, but that is eating away at the idea of the person that you are.
Mm-hmm.
I can't like understate that enough to people. Like, hey, well, it looks like they're fine. Yeah, it looks like it, but know that they are suffering, even if they don't know they're suffering. And it takes that distance. Like you stepped away from it, and one, it's on paper. You can see the amount.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, like the further you got away from it, the more you realize, man, I was in a bad place.
It was bad, really bad. Yeah, I couldn't believe it when she told me. It was, ugh. But yeah, it's crazy because like when I first started 6 or 7 years ago, like how far like taking one pill would get me, and the tolerance I built over the course of just unbelievable. I mean, it was probably close to 50 pills a day. I bet some days.
Did you ever see an end game on this? Like, did you ever think like, dude, I'm going to die from this, or this is truly going to take over?
There was a couple times I think maybe I had overdosed, and not to the point where I was really sick, like puking and stuff.
Yeah.
There was times like that, but it never really crossed my mind. I felt pretty much invincible because I was still like, I felt great at work. Like when I had a load of pills, I felt awesome. So I was like, and the thing is for me, the pills, like I would get really creative. Like I would have a lot of creative ideas, but then they would just kind of peter out. But now at this part of my journey, like I finally kind of have those creative ideas back, and they're kind of sticking with me. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. That's important because a lot of people, and this could be for social reasons. This could be for creativity. This could be for work. I talk to a lot of people that use things like Ritalin, and they think that they will never be the person that they are when they're on it. Just to hear you say things like that, I think that's important, man.
Yeah. And then, so that actually, when I was in treatment, we can get into that a little bit. So the first week was tough. I didn't really want to be there at all, but the more I was there, I was 100% in. But that was like one of the first things, like I got into treatment and like they wanted me to be on all these pills. I'm like, God, this isn't good. Like I would have to take these pills at night before I go to bed. And like, I'd sit up in our break room and like watch TV after I took my night pill and be like,
just like, was it like an Ambien or something like that? Or
it was trazodone.
Oh yeah. So
what it was.
Right. So you're still feeling
it was a mind altering thing. And I'm like, I don't want to be on this,
Right.
So I knew then, as soon as I got out of there, I was going to try to cut that. Like, I don't want to be on any pills. Like, it was just a trigger for me. I want to be in control of my own mind at all times.
And the whole point of this is not to be a slave to these things. Right?
Exactly.
It's like break those chains of needing to do something every single day.
Yeah. So, but I learned a lot about myself in treatment. Some old demons. I got through a lot of those. There was one specific point in time in treatment that really lit a fire under me. And one of our counselors, one of our activities was to write an obituary of yourself before you went into treatment, right? And then one after. And the one after, I wrote it and my counselor read it, and I didn't have one thing in there about going to an NA or an AA meeting. And she could not believe it, and she was pissed. And I'm like, I want to totally flip my life. I don't want to, like 50 years from now, be saying this is the only thing I'm doing is going to AA and NA meetings.
Right. So
I really at that point, I'm like, it was almost like I wanted to prove her wrong,
Yeah.
Like I wanted to. So like, that's always stuck in my head from, the last 6 years of that. And I don't know what it is about it, but so it's almost like I want to prove her wrong kind of thing.
So when you say that, when you want to prove her wrong, you want to say that, like, hey, there's other options, there's things you can do other than these meetings that have helped you along the way.
Exactly, because a lot about treatment is like they really push the AA and NA meetings. I mean, we were going to like at least 2 meetings a day, and I just felt like there has to be another. I'm a thinker. Even at work at construction, I'm always thinking there's got to be a better way or a better option to do something that we're doing right now.
Yeah.
So I would lay in bed at night and just think like there's got to be, I want more of a life than I was young, than going to meetings the next 60 years, you know what I mean?
Right. So now we're going to get into your journey, into how you've kind of used physical activity and some of the extreme things that you've done. And you're not the first person I've talked to that comes from a world of recovery that has found that physical activity has kind of really helped their journey.
Yep.
And I think where the similarities between what you're doing and meetings is it's finding truth, right? It's being authentic. And, I've had I mean, Taylor Spike and I have had this conversation before that there's you can't hide from something when you're running 50 miles.
No, you talk to God at about 40.
Yeah, right. There's truth.
Honestly.
There's truth in that. And for a lot of people, the meetings, and this isn't to say one is better than the other, but the whole point of both these things is to have honest conversations.
Yeah.
Because as addicts, and not even just addicts, everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody can justify something in their own mind. And truth doesn't always have to be there, right? Like you can figure out a way. Like when you're stealing from your grandfather or your wife, you're not like thinking I'm a bad person. You're just trying to feel okay.
Yeah, just to get through the day. That's all I wanted to do.
Right. That's it. So I think that there's alternatives to meetings. For some people, they're lifesavers, but at the end of the day, it's finding truth and having the emotional awareness to realize when you're not in a good place. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about kind of you get out of treatment. And what's that process look like? What's integrating back into the role of a husband and a father and a construction worker, and then this insane kind of side, I don't want to say side hustle, but this outlet that you found within physical activity.
Yeah, so I would say the first probably couple months of being out was just kind of trying to get back in the groove of things. There was a meeting I go to every Saturday, like a men's meeting, and I love that. And then I was really thinking a lot like, okay, so pain really got me into a predicament. So I need to figure out how I need to deal with this pain, like physical pain, like because something is going to happen, which it did, where I'm going to be put in a situation where like, hey, here's you're going to need some pain meds for this because you're hurt or whatever. So, I mean, it was 3 months after I got out of treatment and I woke up, I was at work and I got a terrible stomach ache, like something was going on. So Friday, we worked 4/10. So I was home Friday, Kendall was at work, and at noon I texted her. I was like, you got to come pick me up. Something is going on. So to the emergency room we went. I had an abscess, had to have surgery. Mm-hmm. So there I am, 3 months out of treatment. I'm going to get pain meds. She was there. My wife was there and said, not happening. Right. So, I mean, right. So I had to figure out, okay, how am I I got to figure this out. Otherwise I'm going to be, it's easy to hide. I already know it's easy to hide. It's $4 at the pharmacy for me to fill a script. I could get it whenever I want.
That's spare change, right? You could find that in the floor of your car if you search.
Yeah. So I had to figure out a way that I could, really get in my head and deal with pain. So I started running. I think it was January and I went for a run one night. I told my wife, I'm just going for a run, clear my head. I think I made it a mile and walked home, but I realized that this was going to be it.
This is January. Are you in Fargo, North Dakota? Or are you in Minnesota?
I was in Fargo at the time.
Okay, so if this is a geography lesson, Fargo, North Dakota, it borders Canada. There's no trees, and it is as cold. It's one of the coldest places in the entire United States.
I think it probably is. North Dakota is, and then Minnesota, but there's no trees. So when it's cold, the wind's typically blowing. It was well below zero the night I ran.
Wow.
Probably 10 below.
Wow.
And I walked home in disappointment because I had made it a mile. But I decided that was going to be my niche because I was always an athlete. Like I loved sports in high school. But the funny thing is I was a jumper in track.
Yeah.
So and I freaking hated running. I quit track in high school because I hated running so much. Like I quit the track team and now here I am.
What was it on that mile? I mean, you mentioned, hey, I'm disappointed because I only got a mile. Mm-hmm. Now a mile in Minnesota North Dakota in January is like 4 miles anywhere
That's
else.
what it felt like. Yeah.
What was it about that, do you think, that sparked in you like, hey, this is going to be my part of my path?
I'm not quite sure if it was something particular, but it was frustrating, like knowing what I used to be in high school and stuff. Like I was a pretty good athlete, and now like after being stuck in an addiction for 7 years, like how far I had dropped back in my life. So it was kind of that. But then I had been watching, I watched a lot of YouTube videos like ultra runners like Cameron Haynes and stuff. Like I was paying attention a lot to him and how he uses it. So it was kind of like, I don't know, the combination, the way pain and how it kind of worked out, it just seemed like that's what I needed to do.
Do you know, have you heard of Taylor Spike or no?
Yeah. Yep. I follow him.
Okay. Yeah. That's
like Cameron's stepbrother. Isn't it?
Yeah. I had no idea when I had him on, but yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I just started doing that every day. And then I think it was that following summer, I ran a couple 5Ks, earlier in the spring.
Yep.
And then probably, I don't remember when it was, I ran a 10K, and then I was like, oh, I'm all in. I'm going right for the 50 miler. So I signed up for the Voyager. It's in Duluth, Minnesota. Which cold up there. Well, it was middle of summer, but cold and hilly. So I did that in July of 2017. I went from 10K to 50 miler. I have yet to run a half marathon or a marathon sanctioned one, but so I just jumped right in.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to do it, I mean, I think for a lot of people, especially within, I've talked to a lot of the people in recovery, and I had a guest come on, and he said, when I was born, God just said excess. He touched me and he said excess. Whatever you're going to do, you're going to do it in excess. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people just they go all in.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I realized, being an addict, I thought a lot about that. Like, what is it that other people, successful people have that I don't have? And the more I thought about it, I realized it was really nothing, because, I was obsessed with my addiction, which most people who are extremely successful are obsessed with whatever it is they want to be doing. I was consistent. I didn't miss a day during my addiction, in probably 7 years.
Yeah.
So I just like 180'd my addiction from bad energy to good energy. Like I put it all into being husband and father, like I just flipped the script basically.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point of this, right? This concept of the consequence of your habits. It's a double-edged sword. The same ones that put you in rehab and had you taking an absurd amount of pills, it's the same reason you're accomplishing stuff on the flip side, right? If you can channel that energy, like you said you're doing, and point it in the right direction, well, shit, man, the sky's the limit. I really
realized like how powerful my mind really was being an athlete. Is like, when I was running my first race, like I remember a couple of people asking me like, oh, how many ultras have you done? I'm like, oh, this is my first one, and they've been running for 20 years. And like, this is their first one. And like, it has to be, they're obviously physically in better shape than me, because I've hardly been running, and they've been doing it for 20 years. So it's just something in my mind. I think that, addicts, they don't realize it, but they have an edge over a lot of people.
Dude,
I don't think they realize that.
They don't. And it's such an important thing to talk about, because for addicts, there's shame. There's shame in everything you're doing, and you don't realize the potential that you have. Because if you look at someone who's a successful entrepreneur or athlete, that seems so fucking far from where you are when you're in your low, that it's like they're another species or something.
Yeah.
So it's an important message. And even in those worlds, I felt it. Like, if I'm going to talk about, if I'm going to get honest and talk about stuff, and I'm around people that haven't lived that life or that experience, but they're very successful, it's uncomfortable to pull the curtains back on it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But it makes it easier when you know that the same reason you were what you were is a reason you can also become, whatever you decide you're going to become. So,
yeah. And I feel like, God, you just, the way addiction is now, how much it's so young, like young people, when I was in treatment, I was like, there's a lot of kids that were 20 and younger in there, and I feel like you just got to if there was a way to just get in their heads and make them realize, like, these are some of the traits you have right now. And if you could put them towards something like good for the next 20 years, imagine where like you would be. It would be, what I think you just posted something recently, 100,000 people had died this last year from addiction.
Mm-hmm.
If they were able to flip the script and put it towards good energy, just think of like the ideas and inventions and businesses and stuff there would be, you know what I mean? It would just be, it'd be crazy. So I feel like if there was a way just to get into the younger generation's heads to make them realize, like, you are an addict, but these are some of the good traits that you have.
Yeah. How do we do it? Dude, seriously, man, let's brainstorm it and let's get something going on it. Like, how do you...
It's almost like there should be like, okay, there's a 12-step program, but I feel like there should be, the program's been around since 1930s, but every piece of curriculum in the world has changed since then. So I feel like there almost needs to be a program after the program. Like, all right, you've been sober for a year. Okay. Your mind's right. Now let's go back and explore the traits you had as an addict, and let's figure out what your passion is, what you're passionate about. Because most people have a passion, they just lose it along the way of addiction.
Mm-hmm.
So find out what you're passionate about and just like make a program to just constantly feed that passion. And I think I feel like it would be crazy.
Yeah, there has to be a way to get buy-in. I've talked about on here where even saying I was going to go to a meeting, like a 12-step meeting, to a lot of people was a huge, like, you're what? Like,
exactly.
It's that bad. And you go, all right, well, this is life altering one way or the other. If I continue the path I'm going, it's life altering. Like, it's messing me up. And then on the flip side, so
I think that's where you lose, like in treatment, I think that's where you lose a lot of the younger generation, because they push that a lot. Like, okay, this is the program. You're going to have to do this the next 50 years of your life, or, it's just not going to work out. Because there's a lot of people in there that say this is the only way. Like if you go to an AA or an NA meeting, there's a lot of older guys in there that have been doing it for 40 years, and they say this is the only way. So I think you lose a lot of kids' hope. Younger kids, like, this is going to be my life. So I think they need something more to just give them a little bit more hope, like a glimmer of hope.
Yes.
And that needs to be, I think they need to know, like they pushed a lot in treatment, like, this is what's wrong with you. I think more kids need to know, okay, this is actually what's right with you.
What's right with you? I think that is 100% dead on. I don't think people hear enough the like you said, the same thing that made them a good addict has a potential to make them great at something else. You start off, and God, I really don't want this to come across as a bashing because like AA for me was it. Dude, I quit drinking.
Me as well. I love the program. Yeah, it's great. I just think everything's evolving, and I think it might need to evolve a little bit.
Yeah. You start off by putting yourself in a box of saying, hey, my name is JT or Seth or whatever, and this is what I am. But I think I do that. There's an opportunity right now that
I think even a program or a book or something, I think something needs to happen.
Yeah.
I think kids need more hope.
I think instead of, the media has not been kind. It has not been kind to people and programs. And when you hear of somebody that has come forward and said, hey, I'm an alcoholic, I'm an addict, I'm of any kind, you have this idea of what that person is.
Exactly.
But I think we're in a time right now where we can say we have all picked a poison, one poison or the other. It could be your cell phones. It could be, I mean, there's a list of things like it could be video games. It could be work. It could be relationship, like toxic relationships. Like everyone's picked their poison. So it's like this blanket across all of us. But when you say, hey, I go to NA or AA, someone thinks of a basement in a church somewhere with a bunch of people sitting around drinking shitty coffee.
Yeah.
But we need to flip that and really say, hey, man, this is a human condition of wanting to feel good. Dopamine affects us all. And this pain pleasure, it comes from the same place, man. It's the same place in the brain. And we need to package this to get buy-in from people to realize that they have this potential. Like, how do we?
It's a superpower.
It is.
I honestly, it is. I honestly, like, if you take the most, you know how they say, you know, and addiction is like, it's a brain disease.
Yep.
They call it a disease. So it would be interesting to see if you could take an addict's brain who doesn't quite get it figured out, you know, they're an addict their whole life, and then take like someone that's super successful and compare those two brains to see.
They're not.
I think they're the same.
There's people exploring it. I'm going to connect you with somebody when we get off of here who's doing exactly that. He teaches entrepreneurs. He flipped his script and he became a really successful entrepreneur. And now he talks to people, and you will pick up skills. And this is, I think you and I mentioned this when we had our phone conversation before this interview, that what is and I don't want to make this sound bad, but as somebody who lives in a world of shame, when you're an addict of any kind, you get good at reading people, and man, you end up manipulating some people, right?
Yeah.
In the business world, that's called something else. It's called being persuasive.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's so if you can have honest conversations with yourself and realize why you're doing what you're doing, and you know, you're not trying to get high, right? You're trying to build people up and motivate people. Then I think, the sky's the limit.
Mm-hmm.
We got to figure it out, man. Brandon, we got.
Let's do it.
I love it.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
I think that's what needs to happen, though.
I agree.
Because everything's getting worse. Like, nothing's getting better. Like, more people are dying. And I just think they just need more hope is what it is.
There's this whole death by despair, right? It's gone through the roof. So whether that be by suicide, whether that be by an overdose of some kind, what do you think in modern society is causing this feeling of hopelessness for people, and what do you think that you've done differently since kind of looking at your own life that to make you feel different?
I think it's just kind of, society is just kind of designed to keep people average, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people get stuck in just a normal routine and, you know, doing the 9 to 5, you know, whatever. And I think they just feel trapped, like they're never going to get out of that.
Mm.
So I think for me, being an addict, average is just not in the cards for me. Like, I have no desire to be average. Like, I've always wanted to be different and stand out. And so, yeah, it just kind of, it's my superpower, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So you end up doing your ultra, and you're not into just ultras. Dude, I before this interview, I'll go through your social media and I'll kind of do some research on you. Randy, you did a muscle up with a water bottle on your head. And
yes, that was my time to shine. That was the one and only time I ever went viral because CrossFit reposted it.
Did they really?
Yeah. So I had like 100-some thousand views. So
holy crap, man. So I saw you start off in this, and I'm like, no, there's no way. There's no way he's like, this is going to be like a video and it falls off and it's going to be like, hey, I have something to strive for. So you put this water bottle on your head and you slowly do a muscle up on rings without the water bottle falling off.
Yes. And if you saw, I was in my garage and it was winter, so you could see my breath in there. It was it was cold.
Dude, that was an awesome, awesome video. How, like, so clearly CrossFit, and maybe not in a traditional CrossFit gym, because unless you're in Fargo doing this stuff, but I imagine.
I was. My sister-in-law owned a CrossFit in Fargo, so that's kind of how I got into that.
Ah, perfect.
Gymnastic stuff and movement stuff like that. So, yeah. But strength training, and I mean, that's what I used to do. I used to love jacking weights around when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had that. But I always like to do, like, I'll watch YouTube videos and like look up the hardest fitness challenges, and that's what I do.
Wait, speaking of which, you're day 60 into the hard 75, right?
75 hard.
75 hard. Yeah, I screwed that up. Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, walk us through that.
So it is 75 days. It's 2 workouts a day. One has to be outside. Stick to a diet, any diet you want. A gallon of water a day. No alcohol. No cheat meals. I think I got them all.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you've got 15 more days of this.
15 more days, but then after that, there's 3 more phases of it, and so I think I'm going to do those too.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know exactly all those phases because the book is sold out. I can't get a book, so I've been trying to find templates of it. But and I did that, like, it was mostly like running for me, and this in general. It's not. I don't do it for like my physical health. It's all like mental stuff. So I started it because I felt like I was in a little bit of a slump.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just something mentally I thought it would work to get myself out of, because like I've done in the last 5 years, I've done 11 ultras, and during COVID, like most of my races, like the ones I wanted to do, got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
So it was something mentally I thought it would work to get out of the hole, and it has. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
this idea of doing hard things, whatever it is, and I think it's one of the reasons CrossFit has become what it has. I think things like the Tough Mudder and the obstacle course racing, my personal opinion, is one of the reasons that society is suffering so much, and one of the reasons people are being drawn to this is we need friction in our lives. We need something to go after. And a ton of us, you can sit in your house now and you can order DoorDash or have your groceries delivered. I mean, you can have your alcohol delivered. Yeah, I'm sure there's a website you get your drugs delivered. Like everything can show up at your door. You don't have to move. Like you can just kind of be there. But
and that happened last winter. I was like, no races. I think I maybe got 1 race in, and I could feel myself, like, winter comes, it's dark, mentally and I was like, I got to do something, or I'm going to have to start going to meetings. Like I need something I need to do. So I'm like, all these ultra guys that have out west and even out east, they got their mountain ranges and stuff. And, they have all this cool stuff to do. I'm like, I got to do something different. I'm in Minnesota. I got 10,000 lakes. So I'm like, I'm going to start running on the frozen lakes. So last year I did 4 marathons on 4 frozen lakes back-to-back weekends. But wow. It's kind of been, now that's my niche. Now, like, I'm just going to be, like, I have a vision of being the greatest cold weather endurance athlete of all time. Yes. So I got big ideas for this winter. I'm hoping, depending on what the weather's like ice-wise, I got some crazy ideas. So dude,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's fun. It was fun last year. It was like, I didn't know what to expect, but it was kind of like the way I thought about it. Like, okay, I'm running on the ice. Like, I just wanted it was almost like live your life, like make a mark today, like a footprint today, because you don't know if it's going to be there tomorrow. Like, so I run on the ice, and guess what? 2 months later, it's gone. There's no recollection, or there's nothing that I even did what I did. So it was kind of a cool thing.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
And see, that's the deep kind of stuff that you can think about when you're out, doing these runs, and I like the idea of saying, all right, this is what they're doing, right out west, and these guys were posting pictures of these beautiful mountain ranges, and you can spend all day and go, I wish I was there running there.
Exactly, but I can't. Like, I had to figure something else out.
Yeah.
So I did. No one else is doing what I'm doing now, so I'm starting a new trend.
There you go. So instead of wishing that, you just opened your front door and went running.
Exactly.
And
yes.
There it is.
They got their elevation, but I got the cold weather. So, I mean, I might not be able to hang with them out there, but when it's 25 below, they can't hang with me here. So it's kind of
and
it's all mental stuff.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing is you're taking action. It's not wishing you were somewhere else or going, oh, like I can't do what they're doing. It's taking action, and the feelings. It's connecting that activity with the emotion when you're done. And I think one of the hard parts of getting buy-in on stuff like that is realizing that it's not a quick turnaround, right? You don't instantly feel good.
No.
But over time, just like anything in recovery or anything in life that's worth doing, it's a slow process, and you will at one point. You're never gonna be at the top, but you are gonna feel way different about yourself than you did if you weren't doing this stuff.
Yeah, and I catch a lot. Like, I've heard a lot, like, of the term, like, I'm just an addict. I'm just replacing an addiction but I don't think that's necessarily true, because there's a lot of mornings where I do not want to go out and run. I got to push through that. So I don't think I've heard that a lot, and I don't think that's necessarily true for a lot of things.
Yeah. You know what? And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
No,
it doesn't matter. Like, no one, yeah, you're not stealing fitness from somebody. Like, you're not, exactly. You're doing something for yourself. And this idea of what's good and what's bad, like, man, dude, who cares if that was the truth, if that was the truth, that you replaced taking a ton of pills with running.
Yeah,
dude. Like,
it's silly.
Yeah. Who's gonna give you shit about that, man?
That was one of my biggest. Like, I used to care so much about what people thought, and I'm just like, screw it. Now I don't give a shit anymore. I just do me.
Well, you're blazing your own path, man. And when you do that, like, you can't care what other people are thinking. And now you've got a pretty big social media following. So people are buying into what you're doing and looking to you as inspiration, man. Could you ever fathom that when you were in the depths of your addiction?
No. So it's crazy. You probably noticed some of my pictures. So running is one thing I got into, but I actually my wife bought me a camera when I got out too. So I kind of took off with photography too, went 0 to 100 and that too. So it's funny, because looking back, like in high school, you would say I was a jock, maybe, whatever. And then there was the video club in high school. And then, there's track, which I hated running. So I quit track. I thought the video club people were nerds, and that is absolutely what I'm passionate about today, is photography and running. So it's crazy. So I took off with that too. I mean, I love the outdoors, taking pictures and just running. So it's crazy. Like, I got a camera, went 0 to 60 with that, and I won photography contests. I've had photos on different websites and stuff that I've taken. So it's crazy how everything's kind of come full circle. You
talk about being in high school and having to seek treatment for your mental health. There's a lot of people that will feel at that age, if they're struggling that much, there's not a lot of hope. You've got the rest of your life. Like, this can only, as I get introduced to adult problems and these things that have bigger consequences, even parents, I mean, they got to think like, oh God, this is the start of a really long war. So to hear people have gone through that, have reached rock bottom, and then have found this path to recovery, to just a much to a fulfilled life. I think these stories, this is a huge part of probably it's service work that you probably didn't ever think that you were going to take part in.
Yeah. It's even, I didn't mention this either. So, do construction, but I've always wanted to contribute more to the family. So I would be running, and I had this idea of starting a business, a pressure washing business. Okay. So I had this vision in my head. Every morning I'd run, I'd be like, okay, if I got a water tank and a truck and I put this here, got a pressure washer. It took me a little while to convince my wife to buy all this stuff, but I finally did it. I think first month it paid for itself, and now it's like doubled our income in the last 3 years. And I thought all of that through running in the morning. Like I just came up with this vision, started writing stuff down, and just like, it's crazy.
There you go, man. There you go. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So I 180'd my addiction. That's basically what it came down to.
It's amazing what you're capable of with the mind of an addict, but with a clear mind.
Clear mind.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So like, when I was actively using, I was very creative. Very creative. I had the greatest ideas in the world, I thought, but nothing ever come of them because at the end of the day, I would not be feeling so good.
Sure.
But now through running, fitness, whatever, I have those creative ideas again, and they're just not going away. And now I'm feeding them.
It's fantastic, dude.
Yeah, it's great.
Brandon.
So it'll be fun. I have big plans. I have a good 5-year plan. So we'll see what happens in the next 5 years.
Do you have any? Can you let us in on any of them, or are they you're keeping them on the down low?
Well, one big thing, like with the winter running, this is my big picture. I want to do 5 marathons on all 5 Great Lakes in 5 days.
I love it.
That's whether it might be this year. If they freeze, good. That's what I want to do. All 5 of them. Boom, boom, boom. It's like 1,100 miles. I've got everything planned out where I would launch, all the resorts on the lakes and stuff. It just has to be cold enough to work. And if that doesn't work, then either 5 marathons on Minnesota's 5 largest lakes.
Mm-hmm.
So it might all happen. I don't know. We'll see. This year is going to be the good one. And I think I've trained good for it. I feel healthy mentally, physically. So it's going to be fun.
Dude,
I'm excited.
I love your story. I think it's going to inspire a bunch of people, man. I want to get with you offline. I want to connect you with some other people, and I want to, if you're cool with it, man, let's
I think we should hook up and figure something out, because this was a big step for me. I have huge anxiety. I'm very introverted, but I really feel like I have a good story and good ideas, and I just need to get them out there, put them on paper, put them, in the interweb, and I feel like I need to. It would be a disservice if I didn't do that. So I really got to get out of my own head when it comes to anxiety and stuff and being an introvert. It took me a while to get pumped up to do this.
Oh, really? Dude, I'm stoked you did. I think there's a price to finding freedom from this thing that held you back. And one of the price is, you got to throw lifelines. That's always been in the rooms and stuff. But if we're talking outside the rooms, I think there's a responsibility to motivate and find people, find the young Brandon out there, and show them that there's an alternative, or at least make them curious about what they're doing in their life.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, you start off with one pill. You weren't conscious. It's not like you took that pill and said, "Hey, I'm going to be an addict." Like that. No. It happens. It happens over time, and to show people, like, dude, what you're doing has consequences. We can flip the script, and you are capable of amazing things. So I'm stoked. I'm stoked you came on here. I'm stoked to see the direction where this goes, and I would love to get with you and see if we can start putting something together of how do we get to young people.
Yeah, a program or some steps or something. I just feel like you get to that kid and you let him know the good things he's doing. He's gonna you know, a lot of them they're going to be like, holy shit, you're right. You know, I got a lot of potential here.
Yes.
So
yes,
that's what we got to do. I think change the world. Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. I'm fired up, dude.
Yep.
Brandon, where can people find you if they want to find out more information?
So email is brandonsethre@gmail, all lowercase, Sethre is my last name. And then on Instagram, it's Up North Fit.
Okay.
Brandon Sethre in there. I don't have Facebook. I limited myself to one social media because I didn't want to get stuck down that path either.
Dude, it's
too much shit.
It's a rabbit hole, dude. And I honestly think that people like you, and I shouldn't even I'd say everybody is, I just know for me, I'm low lying fruit for that stuff. Because I like dopamine, right? So and those
I get stuck scrolling in the morning.
Sure.
It's bad.
Yeah.
I gotta give myself, before I run in the morning, it's like, okay, I got my coffee set, make my coffee. And then I give myself 10 minutes. You got 10 minutes to look at what you need to do. And then it's get your running shit on. You got to go outside.
Hey, we're sponsoring a 30-day digital fast in February.
Okay.
To try and break that, or at least make people curious. And this is just as much for me, because I'm, like I said, it's an issue for me to maybe change our philosophy on how we take in our digital content, because again, you don't realize on how much it monopolizes your life
and how much time you spend on there.
Yes.
Crazy.
All right, man, let's stay in touch. Let's work on that. And thanks for coming on.
Perfect. It was awesome.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
All
right. That's it for me. Thank you to Brandon Sethre coming on here. I'm fired up. That guy is one motivating dude. I'm excited to see the partnership. I'm excited to see the direction that he goes and the lives he's going to change. So please check him out on his Instagram. Links are going to be in the show notes, and I will catch you all next week.